Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Signs your Filipina relationship is healthy. I came across an article I wanted to share with you that I thought could be applied to a foreigner and Filipina relationship. I sincerely hope if you are in a relationship with a Filipina that these things can be said in your situation, that your relationship is healthy. You might come to this conclusion after a matter of months or even years. If you see these qualities, then I think you've probably found the one. If you have most of these things going for you, perhaps there is still time to improve the others. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea and get notifications for upcoming videos. This channel is to help a foreigner and a Filipina have a solid relationship by learning about the dynamics of this kind of relationship all the way through and into marriage. You might leave me a comment and let me know when was the moment you came to believe that you and your Filipina girlfriend, fiance, or wife had a relationship that was as solid as a rock. lvbts.com is my website. I will alter the points a little bit from this article so I can fit it into this context. Let's start with this one. You actually like each other. I noticed this quality in certain couples. In fact, it's probably the first thing I noticed, that they seem to like each other. They have a way about them where this seems like they are meant to be together. You've likely noticed this in certain Philippines vloggers. You know, they have a wider age gap than what is considered normal, yet that doesn't seem to be an issue. You have probably seen some other Philippines vloggers that made you feel a bit uncomfortable because you noticed something was just a little off about them. I saw one such couple on camera, and it didn't take long before I felt uneasy for the man. I think it was the Filipina's body language, because although they were going to be married or maybe already were, it seemed to me there was a lack of connection of sorts. I remember thinking that I hope it would work out. Maybe she was uncomfortable on camera. Maybe she was overwhelmed with the changes upcoming in her life. I think you know what I mean. When their relationship is solid, they will look like they actually like each other, at least eventually. Another way you might know is that, you respect each other. You respect each other. I think it is possible for a foreigner and a Filipina to hit it off right away and have a good feeling about each other, an easygoing connection. But in order to have respect for each other, that will take some time. I think respect has to be earned. While certain positions should be respected, for example, president or a policeman or a supervisor, respect in a foreigner-Filipino relationship is forged over time. Some of these next signs will also be a sign of respect. Over time, I think this is a sign that can be observed on camera, too, these things. They are the first person you want to call when there is good news or bad. It goes both ways. Now, to be fair, when I married Isa, about all of my friends had gotten married and disappeared from the face of the earth, and I had very little family. However, my wife has a lot of friends and family in the Philippines. It wouldn't surprise me if she thought of them first if she had big news, but then again, if she had big news, I would probably already know it. I think it's possible that the Filipina that has gone overseas to live and hasn't been away from home for very long might be inclined to share some things first with her family, but that can certainly change over time. Another point here to show that your relationship is healthy is you don't judge each other. Not having stereotypes of each other comes to mind here. Another one, your friends like her. It goes both ways again here. If my friends don't like my Filipina wife, I would sure want to know why. I have been told to watch out. You have to be careful, but not by someone who has gotten to know my wife. I know my friends like my wife and respect her, and I have said many times in this channel how impressed I am with her friends. It is easy to have preconceived notions of a foreigner and Filipina, but if you can observe them closer up, it becomes easier to accept that they actually have something going, and even the age gap doesn't seem as important as it did from a distance. You don't complain about each other to your friends. I have linked the article to this again, and these are my comments. You can read the author's comments in the link. You don't complain about each other to your friends. I wanted to remark that it is normal to talk to someone close to you about a problem you are going through, and that would include your relationships. It is helpful to have a mentor, someone you trust, could be a relative, to toss things around when you are troubled by something. Here is how I distinguish complaining to your friends from seeking guidance and a listening ear. The difference is looking for a resolution or support or guidance for the good of the relationship compared to wanting to make your partner look bad to someone else. Many times I have said to my wife that we always need to stick up for each other in front of others, even if we think the other one might be wrong. Basically, I am saying to be supportive. We can always get together in private and iron out some differences or clarify our thoughts, but in public, I think we need to have a united appearance. In order to get good advice, I can't be secretive or speak in code and expect to get good advice. I want to avoid complaining and stress that I am looking for some guidance that is for the good of my marriage. I then try to apply that advice. No grudges, no standoffs, but looking for proper action. Also, if I turn to a church pastor for advice, that is different than blabbing it all to the neighborhood gossip. Another way here, you don't dodge difficult questions. I agree with this. If the relationship is solid as a rock, you trust each other to work through some uncomfortable things without damaging the relationship. With a Filipina, a difficult decision frequently is about how much money to send back home to her family. A good resolution won't happen if that isn't discussed. Another thing, you don't want them to change, or you don't want each other to change. We have to accept that each of us is fallible and broken, but there has to be enough respect that the good outweighs the bad, and we ultimately can't change them anyway. My job is to love my wife. Only God can change her, and vice versa. You trust one another. In a foreign Filipino relationship, there needs to be a certain level of trust in the initial stages to lead you into marriage with each other, and trust continues to be earned and developed after that. Trust shouldn't be blind, and if you find you can't trust each other, that needs to be discovered before getting married. Otherwise, you'll have this gnawing feeling that something bad will happen eventually. People who have had their trust broken to pieces will have a more difficult time trusting someone who is trustworthy. It will just take time. Another point here to know that you have a healthy relationship. They mention in this article, you are into each other. You are into each other. To me, that means you talk about each other in positive terms. You care about each other's reputation. You want to see life from their perspective. You're willing to make sacrifices for one another. This has been a very satisfying area for me. I really want to build our marriage, so I want to know her as well as I can, find what is important to her, and help her fulfill it. Another point, it doesn't feel like you're in a constant battle. If there is something you can let go and can't change, then it is best to lose that battle rather than lose the war. There is a normal tug of war, to put it politely, between a husband and wife that comes from the Garden of Eden after Eve sinned and Adam failed to protect her, and that is conflict and the desire to control. Both of them have this tendency. They want to control, to dominate the other. There will be clashes from time to time. There will be. But there shouldn't be brawls and regular shouting matches. If the foreigner and Filipina can handle disagreements by getting their thoughts out in the open and focus on harmony, the occasional argument can be turned into something for their good. They can learn from it. Another way here to know your relationship is healthy, you can fight and not freak out about it. This is difficult to go through with a Filipina, but it gives you both confidence you can work through difficult situations quickly. The reason I say this is since she is from a faraway country, different culture, possible large age gap, and you know people who are just waiting for your relationship to implode, it is tempting to press a little more than usual. You don't want them to think, they are right and you are getting taken advantage of. If the relationship is solid, I think you will reach a point where you know how to temper your emotions and learn that it isn't always going to be a rose garden. You learn to bite your lip and tell yourself that it's going to be all right. You want what is best for the both of you, and you don't have to have things the way you prefer all the time. You're comfortable with each other. Although you might appear comfortable with each other on the outside, only you will know how realistic that is. I am most comfortable when I am with my wife, no doubt about it, and she knows this. This may be because she meets certain needs that I have, like companionship and touch and closeness, and to invest myself into something worthwhile, which is her. I like to think my Filipino wife is comfortable with me because I am meeting needs that she has, perhaps especially being Filipina, someone from a faraway country. The more we trust each other, the more comfortable we will be with each other. Another point here, you miss them when you're not together. Big time agree here. I may occupy myself with things in her absence, but I don't want that to last too long. I want to be with my amazing Isa. Another one, you make decisions together. Another good sign the relationship is solid. I don't know how it could be any other way. If decisions are not made together, what is the reason? If they are not made together, the odds are that the couple is not in sync, and their long-term goals might conflict. I agree with the author that this is a good sign and a necessary one. I think the first indication I had that we had a stable relationship was when we first survived multiple, spats together over time. When a foreigner travels to the other side of this world to marry someone from another country and culture, perhaps an age gap, I believe it is going to be a longer than usual getting to know each other stage. I didn't let that deter me from asking my wife to marry me. I hope no one is waiting until everything seems perfect between the two before getting married, because there will always be conflict, like I said, and if two people are committed to each other, they can work through those things. Even as solid as a rock relationship between a foreigner and a Filipina will take continued nurturing and adapting and devotion to each other to stay that way. I'm working on that right now with my love beyond the sea.